Hey, true creators. Ready to build a clean, damage-reactive health bar system from scratch? Don't worry, your friend Swag here's got you covered. So, let's get started. Okay, to start out with, the first thing we want to do is we're in a 5.4 third-person project. We're going to start off in the content folder, go to the third person, and then next go to the blueprints. Now right here, you're just going to do a right click because we're going to make our menu widget first. So go to user interface, select widget blueprint, select user widget, and then right here, we're just going to call this W underscore main UI. Do a Control Shift S to save, and we're just going to go ahead and double click that. Now, once you're here, we're going to go on this little search up here on the left and type in Canvas. And we're just going to drag that and put it right here under this menu UI thing here. Next, we're going to need to have a progress bar. We can grab that and drag that onto the canvas. Right here, we're going to move the progress bar down here in the middle, and we're going to make it a little bit bigger, nice and easy to see. Actually, I'm going to make it a little bit exaggerated, but it's okay. And then what we want to do while this is highlighted, we want to go to the anchor, and we want to anchor down here in the middle, okay? And that's just when you switch different screens, it'll change with it. So now this next part here, we're going to go to the style, okay? See, I'm going to open this up a little bit. And we're going to select the background, and we're going to make this tint like a green, but more importantly, not just a plain green. We want to make it like a dark green, okay? Very dark green. And then we're just going to hit OK. And we can minimize the style tab here. The next thing we need to have is this progress here. And what we're going to do is we're going to change this, instead of it going from left to right, we're going to do it from right to left to illustrate our draining. Now, right here under this progress tab, all the way down here where it says appearance, where the fill color is, we're going to click on the color, and we're going to set this to the actual regular bright green. Okay? Just make it, whatever green you prefer. There we go. And then we just hit OK. Now, that should be good. Now, so we can see that under the progress tab here, we're going to just go ahead and move this up a little bit so you can see the difference in the contrast of it when it's empty versus full. Now, for the default of it, let's just go ahead and keep it at full. Now, up here at the top, we're going to also give it a name. We're just going to call it Health Bar. And then after we're done with all that part, we're going to do a compile and a save. Now that we have our progress bar, let's go ahead and click over to the graph. Now, we can go ahead and delete all the stuff that's already here. And we're going to need to right-click and make something called a custom event. Just type in CUST and enter, and that'll give you that. And we're just going to call this Update Health Bar. And hit enter. And then what we also need to do is we're going to need a set percent node. So we're just going to type in set percent. Or actually, let's do it this way. We're going to go over here. We're going to grab our health bar, right? Drag it up here. Get it? And we're going to drag off of this and do a set percent. We want to use the actual node here, okay? We could just hook that up. It's fine. Now, we're going to drag off of here, and we're going to do a divide. Okay, we're going to do one of these functions. See the green here, this green function? It's just a regular pure operational function here. And what we want to do is we want to take this first one and drag it and just let it highlight right here, make that the A. Then we're going to do it again, and that's going to be the B, okay? Now, see, I'm just cleaning that up. Now, we can pick this right here, just make sure this is highlighted, and in the details panel where it says A, we're just going to call that health. For the B, we're going to call it, see, double click in there, we're going to call it max health. So the current health and the max health, if you divide them, that's going to give us our percent here, okay? Simple. We're going to do a compile and a save. Now, for this next part here, we can leave this up. We're gonna go back to our content drawer. And we're gonna open up the third person. And now in the third person here, we're gonna add a event begin play. And then from the event begin play, we're gonna do a right click here and we're gonna make a node called create create widget. Okay, that's gonna allow us to have our widget pop up on the viewport. And just right here, just so you know, we're gonna need to create our main widget, which is this W main UI. That's the one we just created, okay? Now right here, we're gonna drag off of here and we're gonna just select promote variable. And to name this variable in the details panel here, we're just gonna call it main UI ref, okay? So we got the main user interface ref, and then finally, we're gonna add to viewport. Hold on, I think we just drew it. Add to viewport. So right here. That's how it looks, okay? We're gonna do a compile and a save. Now, for this next part here, we're gonna need to create something called a function. So that's gonna be on the left-hand side here. So we're just gonna hit this plus sign right here, and we're gonna call this F health bar or health logic and hit enter. Now the reason we're adding that F there is because if you make a custom event or a function, it allows you to see quickly that one's a function. That's what the big F is there for. All right, we're gonna do a quick compile and a save. Now for this next part, I'm just gonna speed run through it and you can watch and I'll explain it afterwards. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we're back. So let's go ahead and go back and look through the code. So the first thing we need right here is we're gonna need to set this health max to 100. And then we're also gonna set the max to 100 as well. So they're both gonna be matching, okay? And we're gonna do a compile and a save. Now, right here, basically we got a current health and let's go ahead and fix this. This right here, we're just gonna call this damage, okay? This is gonna be the incoming damage, and that's gonna kick off everything. So damage is gonna subtract from the health, and then the clamp is gonna give a 0 and the max of what the range is. So the max is 100, 0 to 100. Then we're going to go back to the current, we're gonna update the progress bar through the UI, and all I did was I just grabbed the UI, the variable from over here and put it here, and then I pulled off and we go to our update health bar. So that's in our main widget. So let me compile and save. I'm gonna show you where that's at, especially since I spelled it wrong. Right here. Update. Okay. Compile, save. All right, back to the third person. So now as we look right here, we're going to actually see where we have a branch. So there's two branches. If it's true, then every time we take damage, then it's gonna activate all this logic up here. If it's false, that's where we're gonna create a little hit react, okay? So now, let's move on to that next part. Right here, I got the character movement, which I grabbed from right here and dragged it here. I got the mesh, and I grabbed it and dragged it here. And I got the capsule, and I grabbed it and dragged that here. Now, for the movement, after you die, you don't want it to move. And as far as the material, we're gonna set the material to something very unique. We're gonna set to something called frame, okay? Let's see, it's frame material, which is this like green ball here, right? And what we can do is while we're here, we're just gonna hit this browse button, and that's what it looks like, and that's where it's at. And then while it's highlighted, we can just go over to our second one here and just do an arrow, and that'll populate it, okay? Do a compile and a save, and that's it. So that's it for this part of the code. Okay, moving on. So for the next part, we're going to go back to our event graph. And then right here, we're going to go ahead, go up a little bit here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the code again. And then after that, I'll give an explanation. All right, here we go. Okay, so that's all set. So let's go ahead and go through the code. Okay, so right here, we're gonna start off with an event any damage here. We're gonna go into our health logic, and all I did to get that was I dragged from here and put it here. I hit the branch, I made the basic of the health equals 0. It goes through the delay process here, which will come back to, after 5 seconds, it'll refill the health bar. Now, for refilling the health bar, all I did was I used this right here. I made this first, and then when I wrote it in here, and I created this node. So this and this are the same. Now, we go from the health fill, which is just going to it's going to fill up the whole thing. That's all this logic is doing. It's filling up the health all the way, right away. And it's going to see the current, and then once it's true, it's going to set the current health to the max, which is 100, which makes it full. And then same thing here with this. I grabbed the UI from right here, and I put it here, and then I got the health bar by typing in get, and then I pulled the percentage from that and set it to 1, which gives us the full bar. Now, from here, because we're filling up the full bar, we're going to need the character's movement, and all this logic right here, all I did was I grabbed it from the health logic here. I just copied all this, and then I went back here, and that's how I got that, okay? Now, we're going to have to, after you fill up the health, we're going to make sure that we can walk again, which would make sense. And then right here, we don't want to set the material to 0. And okay, so these two elements, we're going to have to fix this. We're going to change this to 1 and hit enter. And I'm sorry, we got to go back to the health logic, which is up here. And we got to set this to 1 as well, okay? Because there's two elements, or hit a compile and save, and then go back to the event graph. Because the reason we're doing that is because we want to hit both elements inside the mesh. If I click on the mesh here, this is element 0, this is element 1. Now, we want to restore the health back to its normal state, or its material back to its normal state. So we're going to need to hit the triangle or the magnifying glass folder here, right? And we're going to hit the arrow here for the first material and set that. So 0 is the same as this, and now we need to do the same for 1. Now, let's go ahead, same here, hit that, and now this is highlighted, and then we can press the arrow, and now we've populated this as well. And then we can set our collision back to collision enabled instead of no collision, because when we're dead, we don't have collision, but when we're alive, we still have collision, okay? Now, let's continue on. Now, right here, this hit reaction, this is very, very important. We're going to set it to where the material will change. So we got the element 0 here, same thing like before. We're going to do 0 here and then 1 here. Hit enter. And then for the material, we want to change, we're going to change this to red. So here's how we're going to do that. We're going to, let's go over here. We're just going to go ahead and click on content. Or actually, let me see. Maybe we can just pull it from here. Let's do the drop down. Type in vertex. I don't want to say it's vertex. And then if we scroll down, we'll have this interesting red color here, so we can have that there. So we can change that element there, like so. Same thing here. We can check and make sure we got it highlighted, and then we can populate this here. Do a compile and a save. Okay, I'm sorry. We're only changing element 0, so we want to keep element 0, which is just going to be that first material right here, okay? And the reason we're doing that is because we want it to turn red, right? Only for a second and then go back to its regular thing. So let's go ahead and while we got element 0 here, let's go ahead and select the mesh. And let's go ahead and use this magnifying glass here. And while that's highlighted, let's go ahead and hit the arrow to populate, okay? So it'll go red, and here, every time you take damage, it'll flip the color. And that's how we know we're being hit. Compile and save. Now, because we have this hit reaction thing, we're gonna need to go back to the health logic, okay? But before we do that, let's do this. Okay, so let's go ahead and head to the health logic. Now, right here for the health logic, we're gonna drag off of the false, and we're just gonna type in hit reaction, okay? And the hit reaction is the thing we just created, so we're gonna target this. Now, the reason I don't put the logic inside of this function is because if we hit compile and save, we go back to the event graph. The problem is that you can't put any type of timed variable or time thing inside of a function. That's why we're doing it outside of it, inside of the third person graph. Okay? Okay, so now let's go ahead. We're gonna have to create something to interact with in order to test our health logic. Let's go back to the content folder, third person, blueprint. And what we're gonna do is first do a Control-Shift-S. That'll save everything. We're gonna right click and we're gonna create a blueprint actor, okay? So we gotta go blueprint class. We're gonna create the actor and we're just gonna call this BP underscore, underscore attack ball, okay? Control-Shift-S. And then we're just gonna go ahead and open that up. Now, while we're here, in this side right here, we're just gonna click the add button and we're just gonna add a sphere. And this is just gonna be a basic static mesh. That's all this sphere is, okay? So we got the sphere, static mesh, and then we're gonna go right back to our default scene and we're gonna add a sphere collision, which is this one right here, okay? We could back this out a bit. Let's select the sphere again. And then right here for this sphere, the thing that we wanna do with it is we wanna change this color. So I'm gonna show you that right now. We're going to change it to, let's see, we got the color here. We're gonna change this to, just type in laser, I wanna say it's laser pointer. Yes, laser pointer material. We're gonna use that. So now we got this cool looking color here. And then right here for the collision, we're gonna select it. And let's see, let's try first, let's hit this little lock, because remember, this is the static mesh, this is the collision. Select this, and we're going to lock this, and we're just gonna type in 2. Okay, that's a little bit bigger, but that's okay. We can reduce it a little bit. 1.5. Actually, I think 2 will be fine. So we can just use 2. We're gonna do a compile and a save. And for the sphere, let's go right back to the sphere for a second. I think I'm just gonna get rid of the collision so we can just walk through the sphere, okay? So let's go ahead and find our collision, which is down here. Instead of blocking everything, remember, this is for the collision. We're gonna set it to no collision. That's for the sphere, okay? Do a compile and a save. And then we're gonna select the actual collision. And for it, let's see, we can use, we don't wanna block all, okay, for this. What we wanna do is, let's see, we can open this up. Let's go ahead and select custom right here. See, actually, this might work because everything, it should, yeah, as long as you can overlap, it should be fine. So we can hit a compile and a save. All right, let's head to the event graph. Okay, so right here, we're just gonna go ahead and remove all this. We don't need any of that. And then we're gonna start out by going to the sphere collision and selecting it. And we need to go down until we see the begin overlap right here, okay? So we're just gonna select that, and that's gonna give us that. And then right here, I'm just gonna do like I did before, and I'm just gonna go through the code, and then I will explain it. All right, here we go. Okay, we're back. So here's what we're gonna need to do. All right, let's go back and so I can explain. First, always make sure whenever you complete code, always compile and save. And then right here, okay, so in order for this to work, you have to have some type of damage. So right here, we're just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put 15 and enter so that we can damage our character every time they run into the death ball, basically. We're gonna make sure that we select damage type, okay, that's important. And then as we go on, like I said, so we're basically targeting the third person. We're damaging the third person. We're the reason why it's getting hurt because we're the death ball currently. And then if we go over here, we're going to select P explosion, which is this one here, because it's one of those explosions that just kind of happens and then goes away. So that's why I used it. And we're going to change the scale here to 5 all the way across because we want to give a big explosion. And then for the relative, we're going to just go ahead and snap to target world scale, okay? And then right here, for the sound, we're just gonna use an explosion sound. So let's just type in, let's see, a explosion, let's see, explosion. I mean, we can go with the first one, I think that's fine. Yeah, that one will work. And then do a compile and a save. Okay, so this is what's gonna happen. So whenever the character overlaps this death ball, the third person character, this damage causes us, we're gonna damage the actor, we're gonna damage the third person character by 15 damage, and then we're gonna play a sound and then also an explosion. That's it. That's all we need for this particular actor. Now, let's go ahead and head back to the third person on the viewport. And we can just go ahead and zoom in right here. And what we need to do is we're gonna have to add that actor so we can walk into him, okay? So let's just go ahead and add the actor real quick. Set him right there so we can clearly see him. And then see, so yeah. All right, let's go ahead and test it out. So all we have to do is just hit the play. And like I said, so we got our health bar at the bottom there. And we walk through. Now you see how the character's hit react is just basically the material changing. And you can see your health bar slowly going away. And right there is the death. That's what happens when you die. You turn into a green thing. Now, the reason it fired off just then was because we were close to the overlap part. Nice. You completed the video. Let's see what you can do with the next one. Let's go.